Hello and welcome to BWTV. I'm your host, Resham Suhail. Every year when we celebrate Women's Day, we take the opportunity to applaud and recognize the incredible women who are making the waves across the sector. There was a recent survey that was released, and it showed that 76% of working women aspire to pursue their entrepreneurial dreams, while 86% are also eager to enhance their financial acumen. These women are clearly reshaping the landscape and rewriting the rule book. This year, the theme for International Women's Day is Invest in Women and Accelerate Progress. It clearly signifies the pivotal role of women in driving societal and economical advancement. This theme kind of shows the urgent need to prioritize gender equality and women's empowerment. By investing in women, be it through education or entrepreneurship opportunities or leadership roles, we not only foster inclusive growth, but also kind of understand the full potential of the nation. Uh, Speaking of nation's development, the central government has always been pretty active in demonstrating a strong commitment to empower women. It was evident when Finance Minister presented this interim budget. It had a lot of women-led, women-oriented policies and announcements. Now we celebrate Women's Day every year, but what has been exciting for me are two things. One, to obviously listen to the wonderful stories of wonderful women such as you all, stories of courage, resilience, and growth, but also to discuss some of the serious issues that can actually help in navigating the turbulence, or that can bring out some actionable solutions, more sanity for people who are facing challenges. That kind of excites me the most. Today, I'm looking forward to this discussion. We have Ntasha with us, who is an investor. We have Zaiba, who is into logistics segment. We have Ananya. We have Nikita, who is into personal and beauty care D2C sector. In this conversation, we will try to kind of understand what has been happening in one last year from last March 2023, where and how this ecosystem of entrepreneurs has grown. I'm looking forward to listen to your stories, obviously. We will also kind of discuss how at your level, you being an entrepreneur, you being an investor, how are you at your step kind of investing in women, helping other women grow? Uh, and and looking forward at the conclusion of this discussion, we'll try to understand how will this momentum in India gain speed. Uh, now I go to you, to each one of you. In your opening remarks, talk about how was the last year for you from March 23 to 24. What has changed for you in one last year? Anybody can take it up.
Okay, perfect. I'll take it. So, hi, good evening, everyone. This is Zaiba Sarang. I'm the founder of iThink Logistics. We are an AI-based multi-carrier shipping platform. So, it's like a single and simple tool to manage and automate e-commerce seller shipping needs. So, Resham, as you have mentioned, this last year has been great journey for me as an entrepreneur or as a woman entrepreneur. I literally got many such opportunity where I had represented myself and the company to different stages, like where people are asking us as entrepreneurs to talk about the journey, to talk about the challenges which we have, which other startups or budding entrepreneurs are facing. So it was a complete learning from both the sides. It was not only where I was just going there and speaking to the students or speaking to the budding entrepreneurs. It was always from both the side where I also got an opportunity to learn from those budding entrepreneurs what technology, what innovation, what different mindsets they are coming up to grow the entire ecosystem of startup and the economy. So it's been a great learning journey altogether overall.
Lovely. And how has it been for you?
Hi. I'm Ananya. I'm the founder of Type Beauty. I think for me, the last year has really been about coming into my own as a founder. I started the company only about, it's not even been 2 years yet. So it was into our second year. And I think it was the point after about a year in business where I kind of felt like I had my footing. So I think that level of confidence and surety kind of comes in a little bit here, where you've been in it, you've experienced it, And when you start with kind of a free flowing hand, you've reached a point where you know what systems need to be put in place to try and make everything work more smoothly, to try and make sure things can function even in your absence. I think to me, that's what that year has been all about. And obviously, we had a chance to grow the team. And for me, it's always about hiring and empowering more women. So that's always been a huge part of it. I've seen people
Lovely. We will talk
even,
about this in detail.
yeah. So
Natasha?
that, yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ntasha. I am the co-founder and managing partner at Ankurit Capital. It's an early stage VC fund. And I think last year we have seen a big funding winter happen in the ecosystem where funding has become challenging and very few new investments have been made. But despite those conditions, we have we launched a fund last year. We made a few investments. And it was a time to go back to the drawing board and look at sustainable businesses which make sense, which had a clear path to profitability and growth, right? And not just businesses which are scaling without any unit economics logic to it. So it was a good opportunity for the ecosystem to reflect on this and really look at building sustainable ventures which will last it out and go for an IPO at some point.
You have given a larger picture of what has happened in the ecosystem and rightly put that a lot of startups have struggled to raise capital, but on the other hand, there have been a couple of startups that have been successful in their operations, their growth metrics. They raised capital. Now, from a woman's perspective, if I push you because we are doing this conversation in that backdrop, the number of women who got the VC funding is pretty low. Only 3% of the VC funding goes to women, and it's disheartening. I understand that in India's ecosystem we have come so far. We have covered the journey pretty much, but there is much to do. And in our prior conversation, we were pointing it out that dialogues such as this one, the conversations which can kind of inspire more women, motivate more women to come forward. What is your take on how and what can be done to bring out more women on the front end?
I think women have to really empower themselves and try and take a more proactive lead and have the courage to really step out on their own and build businesses. We still have, we like to be very sheltered with working with status quo or looking for stability with a job or, something which makes clear career progression for us in a streamlined fashion. But we're beginning to see a change. I think the entrepreneurial mentality is happening at the ground level. You're seeing a lot more women take up the leap of faith and believe in themselves and start their own ventures. Platforms like Shark Tank have sort of become so mainstream that everyone is thinking about starting their own venture, maybe a D2C brand or do something hardcore tech, like serious women in tech, right? So I think the opportunity is there, and the government has definitely has a lot more incentives for women to get at least debt funding. From an equity perspective, you are starting to see we are women-led fund, so we of course seek out to encourage more women entrepreneurs and women founders or founding team, which are have a women as a part of their founding team, right? So we like to maintain that equality in the founding teams or encourage women to sort of take more leadership roles at CXO level positions, especially for a lot of ventures which are curated towards the women target audience, and you'd be surprised a lot of them don't even have, forget the founding team, the CXO level team also will not have women take up senior leadership positions. So we really encourage that for our portfolio companies when that's missing. And so I think it's a very positive environment and momentum from the ecosystem perspective. A lot more women VC funds also looking to invest in women entrepreneurs. So I'm sure the founders in the call with me, founders in the call will agree with what I have to say.
Good one. I mean, you nicely explained it. I'll come to you to talk on in a pretty much detail on what will happen in next 1 year. Where do you see this wave going to? Uh, before I come back to you again, Zaiba, an industry which is more.
Resham, I just lost you. Can you repeat?
No
I guess
problem,
there
no
was a
problem.
network issue.
So
Might
this
be.
the segment which is logistics heavy, supply chain related to that, it's pretty much male dominated, nahi? But how has been your experience, and also at your end, where do you kind of contributing, and how are you fueling the growth for other women?
Great question, Resham, because most of the time I got or faced that kind of question for my own self. Why there are no women in this industry who is leading the path and creating a path to follow to us? So this is the same question I ask myself again and again. And to answer this, as you have clearly mentioned, rightly mentioned, कि ये एक male dominated industry है where there are lots of operational are involved where they have to coordinate on non-working hours as well and communicate with the different stakeholders at different time, different zones, etc. And plus heavy machineries like warehousing, management, warehousing, storage facility. They have to work. Like I have visited a few warehouses of certain companies or certain logistic companies where there was no proper hygienic solutions or facilities available to these women, where those who were working there. So I believe we have to work on very grass level to give or provide this kind of services, basic facilities or basic amenities to women, and then only they will be able to opt for career or opportunity in logistics overall. So it's honestly a long way to go altogether.
I can kind of agree, Natasha. Also, Ananya, I was speaking to India SME President Vinod Kumar. He mentioned the one or two anecdotes where he shared that on a couple of ports, they didn't have washrooms for females, and this was a story for around 8 years ago. It's not pretty ancient times, and we are still struggling for the basic needs, basic amenities. It's a red mark, it's a red flag. We're having discussions of such evolved intellect, but we're still struggling at that level. uh, Ananya, what do you have to say to this? How can you at your end, at your spot, can kind of invest in women and accelerate growth, empower more women? How can you do that?
Honestly, I really think just like it hurt me somewhere inside hearing Zaiba say that like you don't even have like there are some places where you don't have those facilities available to women. So not able to kind of grow in that way. But I think at an entrepreneurial level, at a very base level, as women founders, women entrepreneurs, the best that we can do or the plat is use the platform that we have right now, right? So my version of this is to invest in women in the sense that hire a large chunk of women, train women to do better for themselves, right? Because even if you hire someone at a company level, eventually, if they're looking to start something on their own, they will move forward. But you've given them those basic skills that they need to excel. And I think at a grassroots entrepreneur level, that is the best way to empower women, in my opinion.
Lovely. We can talk about how D2C sector is evolving. I was doing a story day before yesterday, speaking to a couple of women founders. We are seeing that under D2C umbrella, the beauty and personal care is the biggest pie, and wherever I see, there is a women founder leading that. So it's the immense opportunity that we see. How do you see it evolving, and why do you think, in your mind, why are there so many founders who are female uh, driving and building the business in beauty and personal care? I know that there's a personal preference, but why do you think so? Why do we see so many women in this sector?
Um, Honestly, I think that it's a generational thing also. I feel like before there weren't so many women leading the pack in beauty and personal care. And now I personally know at least 10 female beauty founders that have now become friends of mine because it's kind of like a women supporting women. Everyone is kind of in one community. But I think the change is because this industry is catering to women. And how can we have men leading the pack when the product is so tailor-made for women, right? that's where all of this comes in, and it becomes like an almost inherent gender bias in like these companies where the women's perspective is not even seen, but your
I see
beauty
you,
and
Nikita. Thank
personality.
you. Yeah, I get your point. I get your sentiment, and I'm loving this trend, seeing so many women entrepreneurs coming in. We're talking about, hi Nikita, thank you for joining in. We're talking about D2C segment and how we're seeing a lot of women building such brands. Why, in your opinion, do you see so many women leading these brands? And also, what has what has happened in one last year for you?
Hi Resham and hi everybody. Firstly, I'd like to say that my brand like Winston and Milagro, these are like beauty brands, and I think I'm sorry if I'm not getting your question because the voice is really bad. But you send me what are we discussing about? So I'm going to talk about it. So coming from this beauty industry, I would say that 80% of our customers are women, and if a woman is not starting the brand, the pain points as women can understand, I
Hmm.
don't think your counterpart can ever understand. I was listening previously also, the washrooms. So not just as a founder, but also as a part of the business environment. If a woman is there in the culture, she understands and brings these points to life. And you don't have to talk about something about 8 years back. um you will not believe, this is an office I'm talking about with a very close friend of mine. They had the same washroom scenario just like 2 3 years back. So I think there are still places where women are their needs are not addressed basically. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting a sentiment. Natasha, on the part of how sectors are booming, do you have a say on how women can come forward in some particular sectors, or how do you see this momentum going on? When we talked about D2C sector, we talked about logistics. Do you see a particular high going graph in some sector?
Oh, I think, like you rightfully mentioned, you see a lot more women founders and women at senior leadership position take up beauty, wellness, fashion. These comes very naturally to us, and I think that's the first thing we are very drawn towards. I think everyone wants to, in their early age, sort of wants to get into fashion designing, or is so inspired by the glamour world. And some of us really have a knack for it, and we pursue it on a serious basis and do that because we sort of do it day in, day out. So why not extend that forward? But I would also like to reflect and highlight that I think we need more women in finance as well, because I see very few professional investors in the ecosystem, and I think there's a need for it. I think women have very of course, we understand majority of the Indian households, the decision maker is influenced by the women in the household, right? A lot of startups, majority of the startups cater to that audience, right? So when we are in the investing position, looking at such ventures, we can relate very well to the target audience, the product. And I think beyond that, we sort of are good, traditionally have been good with saving and investment and growing the wealth of the household. Like we've been the Lakshmi in the household as per our tradition. So I think we should really encourage that. And I don't see that happening a lot. But one of the good things is that at least in the ecosystem, you're starting to see at least more associate and analyst be hired for such professional jobs. But I think more needs to be done to empower such women to take more senior leadership position, influence decision making at such funds. So that's something which has to happen, and it needs encouragement.
Good to know. Good to know. Zaiba, would you like to add to this?
Yes, I completely agree with Natasha what she has mentioned. And in fact, logistic, maybe we need women who can lead
So
this
deep tech sectors,
industry.
yeah, deep tech sectors,
Yeah,
heavy
yeah, yeah.
engineering, drone sectors are other sectors where we would love to see more women faces, and
Right.
we're not yet seeing them as unlike the D2C sector, huh?
And, can I add one thing here, Resham? And I completely echo what Natasha has mentioned in her first answer, where I believe women, or not only women entrepreneurs, women generally tend to not believing in themselves. So it has to come from within. If they are accepting they can change the world, then definitely they have the power and courage to do it. We all know what power a woman brings to this world or this universe. As she's mentioned, Lakshmi, we call it by Lakshmi, we call it by different different characters are given to a woman. So if all of them we will be able to inculcate in ourselves, we will be able to change the entire universe or entire world.
Lovely. I also agree. I also agree. Nikita, you have built two brands, Milagro and Winston, both in D2C sector. I understand there must be there. I mean, you must have faced multiple challenges. Uh, in from your experience, from your journey, what would be one piece of advice you would like to give to women founders who are kind of stepping into this game? Ananya being one, she is about to complete 2 years of the brand. What would you suggest?
So I think Zaiba just mentioned the first thing is like, believing in yourself. And also a lot comes from the environment that you've grown up in. Luckily for me, it was always like my father encouraging me to, take whatever business that I am interested in. But, I see like, it's even if the women is confident enough, the environment that they're in, they are made to believe that, you cannot and you're not supposed to be there. So I think this is also one thing, even if somebody wants to step forward, the society does not let them to, like, they just suppress their feeling, need, belief, whatever you want to call it. But I think that's how most of the women have grown, and they've been taught that, household is what that you are supposed to be doing. Like that has been like, जैसे घर में लक्ष्मी आती है, but it's not actually treated like one. When the time comes, it's just a phase, that you say that, and all these things that we are talking about, women empowerment in like corporate world, you are saying that, you want to see D2C mein dekh liya, but you want to see in other sectors of the industry. This just comes first from our home. Like, how many of us actually have encouraged our mothers or, our knowns to, like, come and step forward and start working? Has that even happened? Like, it's very easy for us to, talk about, I want to do this and I want to do that. But what about the people we see around us? Like, I always encourage my mom to, go to office and, like, this is what you're made for. Like, don't spend your life at home, because that just gives like, I said that, a women coming into the office, like, just that step, you address so many things. Like, that women has that power. Like, you, as you mentioned, like, a small thing like bathroom, and, like, she would understand the needs like nobody else would, like, even after giving years. And as you said about advice, it is not just for women, it's for every, like, anybody who's inspired to be an entrepreneur. I would always say, like, start somewhere. And I believe in manifestation. So, if you start your journey from wherever you want to begin, in your mind, if you set it true, you are just halfway there. Like, you don't even have to, like, I see a lot of people always coming and talking and thinking, like, I want to do this. मैं ये कर लूं क्या? Is it the right thought? Like, should I go ahead? And I always tell them, yes, even if you make mistakes, those are your mistakes. You're going to learn. And that will bring a different zest in you to, like, walk differently. Maybe with different people, but you have to start. So I always tell anybody around me that, who's always asking me, like, what paths to choose or whatever, I just say, like, start. So this is like my one piece of advice that I always say, like, begin, like, start from somewhere. And, Winston is a brand which is like so many brands, not just Winston, जो COVID में आए थे, if those brands would have thought कि यार pandemic चल रहा है, should we even consider building a brand at this moment where, people are thinking of shutting down their businesses? Should we even, like, put our investment, and we don't know कि वो कितने like, what phase was it? If I would have given it a thought कि should we invest the money which we don't know that, whether it's multiplying or not to another business, if you don't start, you're not going to reach the destination. So think first and then live it.
Lovely, lovely, Natasha. Now, in India, we're seeing the number is still pretty low when it comes to investing in women. Also, on the other side of the table, the women investors are pretty low. Now we know that you are leading a fund which is clearly women led. and pretty encouraging for women. But tell me, how do you see this graph going up in India in next 1 or 2 years? What can we expect, or what can we demand from, let's say, government or the bodies to do to make it happen in a pretty effective manner in next 2 years or 3 years?
Yeah. So, as a fund, we have received institutional investment from the government's fund of fund, and which is SIDBI. And I see the government has taken a lot more action to encourage more women to sort of go out there and participate in whether it's entrepreneurship or through the funds, So there is definitely an encouragement for women to participate in the workforce much more, right? And if you see the current government's agenda as well, it's very much catered towards empowerment of women. That's their entire agenda. So I see the positive tailwinds and the positive signs for women who want to do something, to actually be able to do something. Funding is not an issue. I think the ecosystem has boomed enough. So, like I said earlier, it's all up to you to be able to go and believe in yourself and walk the entrepreneurship path, which is might seem a little bit of a struggle, but it's equally rewarding.
I understand. Now, my final question to all of you, just before we wrap it up. Name any one woman, not some, only one woman who has been an inspiration for you in your journey. Anybody can take it up.
I'll take this question. So
One
for
woman who
me,
inspired you.
okay. So for me, I believe my mother, she inspired me a lot. Though she is a homemaker, but the journey or the struggle she has gone through in terms of I came from a very lower middle class family. So she was the one who, in fact, I was from a Mumbai slum. I studied in an Urdu medium school. So coming from that background and achieving this was not possible just without my mom. So she supported me. In fact, कहीं भी जाना होता है, she is like, you go, you take the opportunity. I'm here to take care of whom, or I'm here, you just do your work. And in fact, whenever I have any talk session where I'm representing, I think Logistic, our company, before going to any presentation or before going to any panelist or as a speaker, I just share my talk or my speech with my mom. I practice in front of her. And she's my best critic. She gives me input. यहाँ पर तूने थोड़ा फास्ट बोल दिया, यहाँ पर तूने थोड़ा गड़बड़ा गई है. You just modify this thing, it will be good. And once I finish the talk, in fact, I take her feedback also. So the video got shooted. We just telecast the same into our TV, and she just watched it, and she's like, you spoke very well, or this is good job you have done. So I believe, and Nikita has also mentioned the support which you get from the environment, that matters a lot. And I believe that comes from your parents and where your upbringing are. So for me, she is the one who inspired me. And according to her, she's like, "Tu kuch bhi kar sakti hai." And I'm just taking her word from like school time also. Whenever there was a competition or whenever I had to go for any competition outside my school, she was the one who was taking me there. कि नहीं तू जा, तू बोल सकती है, तू कर सकती है. And
that's what we call the first hand validation, huh? Good
right.
Good one.
So
Ananya?
I am connecting at so many levels with Zaiba right now. Like, every word that she's saying, if your mom tells you that, you can do it, it's just like, like I said that, it's the environment. So I think that is what is in my mind. Like, if she says that I can do it, there must be something that she sees in me. It's just that short of confidence that your mother gives you that, so I think for me also, it's always been my mother, like nobody else that I idealize. And like, rightly said that, our mothers have gone through, I think it was a different world that, they've seen. So I don't think any one of us can, even imagine. And it's not just about the household work. It's about the treatment that they were getting. Right now, though, I think women have become like so impatient, like, how is this possible? How can this be done to me? But the mothers, like the kind of patience that they teach you, I think that's the biggest learning that any of us can get. So she is my ideal also, like, for all the things. And like she was saying, even when we were going for Shark Tank, she said, always remember, if you don't know whatever the judges are going to ask you, just think that they're only looking at your confidence. And so yeah, I think
Lovely, lovely. Our mothers have always been our inspiration and our guiding light. But other than mother, if any entrepreneur or particularly women entrepreneur you look up to, I would love to listen.
I would like to add, so as you're aware, my partner is Anki Das. We are women-led fund, and I'm quite inspired by her journey. She has almost 2 decades of experience working with some of the largest tech companies in the world. One was Facebook, which is now Meta, and prior to that with Microsoft, and leading their India operations and being in very senior leadership positions over there and having a great investment experience from there, and to transition from those roles to now doing her own fund, with me. So I feel I learn so much from her every day with her operating experience, with her insights, and just so much to gain on a daily basis. I think not just professionally, but personally, how do you sort of manage your personal life as well and create a balance between the two? So it's really inspirational, and I'm glad that we work together.
Good to
this
know.
one
Such a
more thing
lovely story.
I'd like to say,
Huh.
Resham, it's very surprising to every woman entrepreneur that I meet. Every time there's a new learning that I get, and I'm like, how are you even managing this? Like, with your work, you are also able to do, 10 other things which are not even related to work, but still they are like an add on to your work. So I think every woman that you meet out there, with males it's very different, but if you meet a woman, her managing, like the work life, not just work life balance, it's just a learning altogether with every other woman entrepreneur that you meet. So I think they are putting in double of what a male can bring to the table. Firstly, that there's no denial about it, and it's exceptional to see women working right now. Like they just do like multitaskers, I would like to call them.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And
Ananya, your final thought before we close.
I honestly just say one woman entrepreneur that like you think really inspires you. I can't do that because within, like, they all said their mothers, same for me in a different way, because she runs her own business and that's what's given me the confidence to run my own business. But aside from that, like within my like really close friend circle, I think I have like 3 or 4 women entrepreneurs who I see on a weekly basis. And what Nikita just said, like you literally hear something new every time you meet them and you learn something new, whether or not it's about work. It may be about work, it may be about managing your life. And yeah, I'm still young. I'm like 25. So for me, a lot of them are older and they're teaching me these things that, hey, in the future, when you are in this stage of your life, this is how you should handle it. And this is how we have handled it. So it gives you so much insight into kind of almost your future in like the weirdest way. But I think it's so important to, in your community, see women who just excel at what they do. Because that is what really, I think, inspires all of us and makes us all work 10 times harder. Because you're like, hey, we're all doing this together. And that's what it's all about.
Thank you.
Resham, can I add one thing, please, if you don't mind?
Please go for it.
As you have asked Nikita को एक कोई advice share करने के लिए, I also wanted to share it with all the entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs as well. Ask for help. Generally, we as a woman are not tend to ask for help. Hesitate to ask कि मैं इसको किसी को पूछूंगी तो how they will react to my question, how they will react to me. अगर उन्होंने ना बोल दिया तो मैं इसको कैसे solve करूंगी, या I will be not able to do it alone. So I believe अगर you have you can ask for help, that is a very important thing, and that will help you to grow in your business, in your career, and in your life. So I guess we should all do it.
I know, I agree to some extent. Natasha, these are some of the insights we get from first hand from the founders. We get to know what the real world is like at the moment. But lovely, it was a lovely time conversing with you all. Lovely. Thank you so much for such an insightful discussion. In our discussion, we discussed how a founder can actually feel the pain points and then build on to the product or the services. We also discussed about across the sectors, we will get to see many more women coming ahead. uh, Natasha coming from a women-led fund, they are keen to uh, invest in quality founders, especially women, being women-led. And also, finally, she has put it beautifully. Women being the Lakshmi of households, now becoming the Lakshmi of the nation, maybe. So it has been a wonderful and very insightful discussion. Thank you so much, all the wonderful ladies, for joining in.